The other day, a woman left a short comment asking me a simple question. She wrote, "Next year, I'm planning to go back to work properly. But can I ask you something? What color shoes should I wear so things will go a little smoother?" When I read that, I suddenly felt a lump in my throat. Not because the question was strange, but because the feeling behind it was just so familiar. Have you ever felt that way too? After working for many years and trying so hard, you eventually stop hoping to be better than anyone else or to win anything. You just hope it gets a little less exhausting. You are tired of putting on your shoes every morning and stepping out the door with a heavy heart, not knowing if the day will go smoothly, not knowing what new problem might show up. It is not that you are scared. It is just that you feel drained. Sometimes I sit and wonder to myself, could it be that the thing we wear on our feet every day actually affects us more than we think? Not in a superstitious way, not because of what color it is, but because we wear them every day, we walk on them every day, and we carry our whole lives with them every single day. If you are watching this video right now, you can quietly say to yourself, "I hope my steps feel a little lighter next year." There is no need to wish for something big, just lighter steps. For many of us, that alone would already be enough. When people hear me talk about feng shui, or factors that affect our lives, they often think of houses, altars, bed directions, or other big things. Very few think about shoes. But if you pause and look closely, you will realize that shoes are among the things most closely connected to us. Quietly, consistently, and faithfully. They are what touch the ground every single day. They walk with us from morning until night and carry the full weight of not just our bodies, but also our lives. When I was little, my family was poor, and shoes were not something you got to choose. Whatever pair still held together, you wore it. If they ripped, you patched them up. If the soles wore out, you slipped in a piece of cardboard or some scrap rubber. I do not remember how many shoes like that I wore. I only remember how my feet always felt a little tight, a little sore. But at the time, it just felt normal. When you are poor, that is just what you deal with. There was nothing to think twice about. And I never once thought that those shoes had anything to do with my spirit or my mood. Later on, when I moved to the United States, my early years were very difficult. I kept those same habits. I chose cheap, stiff shoes as long as they were durable and saved money. Some pairs were uncomfortable the moment I put them on. But I would just tell myself, it is okay, I can push through. But then I started noticing something very clear. On days when I wore shoes that were heavy, tight, or hard, I found myself more irritable, my mind heavier, and I just wanted to get everything over with so I could go home. Not because work was harder, but because from the very first steps, my body was already in a state of resistance. Looking back, I finally understood something very real that my grandmother once told me, though I did not believe her at the time. When your footing is not at ease, your whole being finds it hard to rest. Our feet are what directly connect us to the ground, the very surface that supports us every day. When your feet are uncomfortable, your whole body compensates, and your spirit quietly tightens without you even realizing. You still work, still smile, but inside, your energy slowly drains away. Shoes do not define whether you are rich or poor, but they quietly influence how you move through life. A pair that forces you to tense with every step, even slightly, will eventually spread that tension throughout your body, your mood, and how you respond to life. On the other hand, a pair that feels steady and light, so comfortable you do not even think about your feet, gives your mind the space to breathe. That is why, when I talk about shoes in feng shui or everyday life, I do not view them as mystical. I see them as a real point of connection between us and the earth, between our bodies and our lives. When your feet are uneasy, it is hard to feel at ease. But when they are at peace, even if life is tough, at least you feel like you are standing on firm ground, not wobbling with every step. When I speak about 2026, I avoid using words like bad luck or good fortune. I also do not believe that crossing into a new year magically changes everything. But after years of observing myself and those around me, I have come to realize that every stage has its own emotional climate. Some years feel bold, people are eager, willing to take risks. But there are also years when most of us feel collectively tired, slower, more careful with ourselves. In my view, 2026 is one of those years. Not because of a major event, but because things have been building up for too long, endless work, mounting responsibilities, family, health, finances, everything needing us at once. People are no longer burnt out by one issue, they are just worn down from carrying too much for too long. And in these times, what we need is not a giant leap, but a firm enough base to keep us from collapsing. From that lens, I now see that shoes matter more than I once thought. In a year like this, your shoes do not need to make you stand out or help you race ahead. They just need to make you feel steady. And by steady, I do not mean heavy, I mean secure. When you take a step, you feel supported, not unsure, and they should feel light, not flimsy, just light enough that you are not constantly aware of your feet. Most importantly, they should not create tension. Not too tight, not too stiff, and definitely not something you have to silently endure. I have noticed many people, especially middle-aged women, often tolerate discomfort. A bit tight? They endure it. A bit heavy? Still endure it, as long as it gets them through the day. But in a year when spirits are already weary, these small tolerances add up quickly. A little discomfort each day becomes a heavy burden by year's end. And by then, people have no energy left for what really matters. One thing I have learned after many years of observing myself: when the foundation is unstable, every effort takes double the strength. It is like running on soft, sinking ground. The harder you push, the more exhausted you become. So a good pair of shoes for 2026 is not about taking you further, it is about keeping you from sinking. They help you keep a steady pace without panic, without rush, and without guilt for not being as fast as before. Now, to be clear, I am not saying changing your shoes will change your life. That is not how it works. But in a year when stability matters most, if your very first steps are not held back by discomfort, you are already preserving something precious, your energy. And sometimes, that small reserve is all you need to make it through the day with more ease. When it comes to shoe colors, let me clarify again. I am not referring to colors based on your birth chart or zodiac. I do not divide people into groups or say one color suits one type of person. I simply see color as something that affects how you feel when you wear it every day. And that feeling, repeated over time, shapes your emotional state. The first group I want to mention is deep and neutral tones. These shades do not pull your energy outward. They keep your eyes calm, your mind relaxed, and your mood steady. They do not demand attention or pressure you to prove anything. You just wear them and go quiet, balanced. Many who wear these tones often say they feel held, like there is quiet support beneath their feet. Nothing flashy, but strong enough to feel grounded. For those who have worked for years, carrying the weight of work, family, children, this feeling matters deeply. When you are already tired, you do not need more stimulation. You need something steady. Deep, neutral tones do not promise big change. but they help you stay within your current rhythm without being pushed away from the fragile balance you have worked hard to maintain. And sometimes, just staying in place is already a relief. The second group is light but soft tones. And I really want to stress the word soft because not all bright colors are helpful. Some are loud and cause tension, they force your mind to react. But soft brights, gentle, not glaring, bring something different. They help you feel lighter, not more excited, just less mentally heavy. For those who have been tired or anxious for a long time, these colors help ease the mind and body. You stop being stuck in defense mode. Many people say their breathing slows down, their steps soften, and they stop bracing themselves. It is like opening a window, not for harsh sunlight, but just enough brightness to see more clearly and feel lighter. And sometimes, that is all your spirit needs. The third group is not one to avoid completely, but one to approach with more awareness. I am not saying these colors are bad luck or will bring trouble, and I do not believe in that kind of thinking. But in a period when your spirit is already tired, colors that are too bold, too loud, or too stimulating can drain your energy faster than you realize. Every time your eyes are forced to pay extra attention, every time your mood is pushed out of its steady state, you lose a bit of strength. When you are still full of energy, these little drains barely register. But when you are already tired, they build up quickly. By the end of the day, you might feel completely depleted without even knowing why. So for colors in this group, I do not recommend avoiding them entirely. I just suggest listening more closely to your body, so you do not accidentally wear yourself down further when you need support the most. I once had a phase where I wore very eye-catching shoes, thinking they would make me feel more confident. But I eventually realized that every time I looked down, my mind got distracted. I was no longer fully focused on what I was doing. After a while, I switched to more understated colors, and I felt more at peace, not because those colors were better, but because they did not demand constant reactions from me. Of all the things I have said, there is one sentence I always keep for myself and often remind others of. If wearing something makes your whole body feel heavy, then you do not need to keep wearing it. Feng shui or any other reasoning should never be a reason to endure discomfort. Your body is very honest. It knows exactly what makes it feel at ease and what causes tension. It is just that we have spent so long pushing ourselves that we have forgotten how to listen. There are shoes that look great, have trendy colors, and get lots of compliments. But when you wear them, your steps feel unnatural. In those cases, I always choose to let them go, even if I feel a little regret. Because to me, shoes are not for others to admire, they are for me to walk in. And if every step requires effort, then no matter how lucky the color is supposed to be, it is not serving my real life. In the end, the color of your shoes is just a small part of many things surrounding you. But in a year when you need to conserve energy and stay grounded, all those small parts can add up to make a difference. Not a life-changing kind of difference, but the kind that separates ending your day feeling drained from ending it with just enough strength left to take care of yourself and the ones you love. At this point, I want to pause for a moment to talk about something even more important than color, and that is the condition of the shoes you are wearing. There are shoes, regardless of their color, that are simply too old, too tight, or too heavy, and just by being that way, they already make your spirit shrink. Every time you put them on, it is one more time you have to endure something. And that act of enduring does not go away, it follows you all day long. I once kept wearing a pair of shoes that were so worn out the soles were uneven. But I still insisted on using them, thinking they were still good enough. It was not that I could not afford a new pair at the time. I just had gotten used to enduring. I had gotten used to telling myself that pushing through a bit more was no big deal. But over time, I noticed that every day I walked around with this underlying sense of imbalance, like I was trying to stay steady on uneven ground. That feeling slowly rose up into my mind. It made me more tired, more irritable, and I lost patience over the smallest things. Many people think that to have good shoes, you need to buy expensive ones, fancy, branded, high-end. But honestly, price does not determine whether a pair of shoes is right for you. There are shoes that cost a lot and look great, but if they do not fit your feet or match the way you walk, they will still wear you out just the same. On the other hand, there are simple pairs no one notices, but when you wear them, they feel light and peaceful. That alone makes them good shoes for you. I also want to make something else clear. We do not need to chase after feng shui. When properly understood, feng shui is not a strict set of rules you must follow. It is simply a way to observe and live more harmoniously with your body and your surroundings. If feng shui makes you suffer or feel tense, then it has already gone against its original purpose. What I have found to matter most, after many years of observing myself, is something very simple. Each step should not make you more tired. It does not need to excite you, and it does not need to boost your confidence above anyone else. It just needs to not drain your energy, and that alone is enough. You already use up your strength on so many things throughout the day. If from the very first step you are already losing energy, everything that follows will feel much heavier. Some people might hear all this and think, this is too small to matter. But it is often the small things, repeated every single day, that quietly determine whether we still have energy left or not. A pair of shoes that makes you wince with every step. Even just a little, if worn for an entire year, will turn that little into something very big. On the other hand, a pair that lets you walk without thinking, without adjusting, without enduring, helps you preserve a surprising amount of energy, more than you might realize. That is why, before thinking about which color suits you or does not, I always suggest you take a look at the shoes you are already wearing. Do they make you feel comfortable? Do they make you want to keep walking? Or do you feel tired the moment you put them on? If the answer is tired, then no matter how lucky that color is said to be, you do not need to hold on to it, because nothing that is truly good should cost you your own exhaustion. As we come to the end of this video, I do not expect you to remember everything I said. I also do not expect you to believe that simply changing your shoes or their color will suddenly change your life. Life does not work like that. If one pair of shoes could solve everything, then everyone would be feeling lighter by now. But there is one thing I do believe in, and I believe it because I have lived it myself. Feng shui, if understood correctly, is not meant to change your destiny. It is meant to keep you from burning out. It does not lift you higher than others, but it can help you stand more firmly where you already are. And in many stages of life, just being able to stay steady, that is already a beautiful kind of success. A pair of shoes that fits well, a color that does not tense you up, a feeling of walking without bracing yourself. These things may seem small, but they are with you every single day. If each day drains you a little less, then after one full year, you will have much more left not to compete, but to live, to breathe, and to take care of yourself and those you love. If you are heading into the year 2026 with a lot on your mind, I do not wish for you to achieve something grand. I simply wish you one very gentle thing, that each day, when you step out the door, your feet do not feel heavier than they did the day before. If you can slow down a little without feeling pressure, if you can stand still for a moment without fearing that you are falling behind, then that, I believe, is already more than enough. Life does not always require us to move forward. In some seasons, simply not falling is already a quiet kind of success. And if a pair of shoes, a small choice, or a moment of listening to your body can help you do that, then I believe it is absolutely worth your attention. I wish you walk into the year 2026 with steadier steps, a lighter heart, and without forcing yourself to be stronger than you need to be. Just steady enough to keep going at your own pace. That is enough.